After shooting down a Messerschmitt 110, Major James Howard looked around and found himself alone, separated from his squadron and with no wingman. He looked upon the lead element of the bomber group he was escorting. There were 30 German fighters bearing down on him. Escort pilots had been ordered not to attack the enemy without the rear support of their wingmen. But if he did nothing, these bombers would have to fight off the Germans alone. Throughout 1943, US bombers were engaged in daylight precision bombing. Some aviation theorists believe that large formations of bomber groups could penetrate deep into German held territory and defend themselves sufficiently. With B-17 Flying Fortresses and B-24 Liberators equipped with 11 guns each, it was thought that there would be safety in numbers. This was proven to be untrue, and such deep raids were becoming prohibitively costly for the Air Force. During the second Schweinfurt raid during October 1943, the US Air Force lost over 20% of its bombers sent on that mission, on what became known as Black Thursday. Combined with the losses of the previous 2 months, unescorted daylight raids were subsequently suspended. Both the invasion of Fortress Europe only a few months away, there needed to be deep bombing raids into Germany to hamper its aircraft production capacity so the Allies could attain air supremacy over Normandy. There was pressure to switch to join the RAF in their night bombing campaigns, but the US found a solution in the P-51 Mustang. Equipped with a large fuel tank and a new Merlin engine which was extremely powerful and highly efficient, the Mustang could travel farther than any other fighter. When external fuel tanks were equipped, the Mustang could make it all the way to Berlin and back. Now, the US could restart its deep bombing campaigns while offering their bombers some support. On January 11, 1944, the target was Oschersleben, only 90 miles from Berlin, a factory complex turning out more Focke-Wulfs than any other plant in the Reich. The weather was awful on this fateful day, so much so that General Doolittle, of the Doolittle raid fame, recalled 2 of the bomber divisions assigned to the task. Some fighter escorts also returned to England unable to locate the bombers they were supposed to escort. 1 bomber division continued alone. As the bombers were crossing Holland, they were attacked by 3 dozen Focke-Wulfs. This would be the beginning of a 6-hour-long battle. Thunderbolt and Lightning fighters would escort bombers to within 50 miles of their target, but only a single group of Mustangs had arranged to escort the bombers for the entirety of the bombing mission. As Mustangs were in short supply, only 50 were available for this mission. Their leader was Major James Howard. Howard was born in 1913 in Canton, China, where his American parents were residing while his father, an ophthalmologist, taught eye surgery. When James was 11 years old, he and his father were kidnapped by Manchurian bandits and held for 10 weeks before they were able to escape. In 1927, the family moved back to St. Louis, Missouri. Although he initially planned to follow in his father's footsteps and pursue a career in medicine, Howard's aspirations shifted just before graduation. Finding the prospect of becoming a naval aviator more enticing than the lengthy path of medical school and internship, he joined the United States Navy as a naval aviation cadet. Howard began his flight training at Naval Air Station Pensacola in January 1938 and earned his wings a year later. In 1939, he served as a US Navy pilot aboard the USS Enterprise, based at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. In June 1941, Howard left the Navy to join the American Volunteer Group, famously known as the Flying Tigers, where he piloted P-40 fighters, fighting for his birthplace against the Japanese. During his service with the American Volunteer Group, he completed 56 missions and shot down 6 Japanese aircraft. After the American Volunteer Group was disbanded, he was promoted to major and given command of his own squadron in England, where he escorted bombers deep into enemy territory. He was commanding 3 squadrons on January 11th. His mission was to rendezvous with the 401st Bomber Group at its designated target at Oschersleben and escort the bombers home. When he got to his destination, the bombers were already under heavy attack. He sent 2 of his squadrons to the rear and middle of the bomber formation, and he led his squadron to the lead element. Howard first encountered a Messerschmitt 110 and shot it down. He next engaged a Focke-Wulf 190. After the engagement, Howard noticed he was alone. He was separated from his squadron and his wingmen. Seeing that the lead element of the bomber group was still under heavy attack, he decided, as he put it, to stick around. It was him and his Mustang against 30 German fighters. For over half an hour, Howard relentlessly climbed and dove, scattering German planes as they attempted to target the bombers he was protecting. Despite 3 of his 4 guns jamming during the intense combat, he continued his determined defense until he ran out of fuel. Remarkably, the 401st Bomb Group, which he was defending, did not lose a single plane during this engagement. When Howard returned to England, his Mustang had only a single bullet hole. He was officially credited with shooting down 3 enemy aircraft, although he humbly only claimed 2. But witnesses from the bomber group claimed he had shot down 6 and damaged many others. When the men of the 401st debriefed, there were 16 separate accounts about the lone P-51, the one-man Air Force. Major Alison Brooks, the leader of the 401st, later reported, "For sheer determination and guts, it was the greatest exhibition I've ever seen. It was a case of one lone American against what seemed to be the entire Luftwaffe. He was all over the wing, across and around it. They can't give that boy a big enough award. It may not have been big enough in Major Brooks' estimation, but they did give Howard the Congressional Medal of Honor. Howard was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel the following month, and provided fighter cover for the Normandy landings on D-Day. But thanks to the resumption of deep daylight bombings in Germany's aircraft manufacturing, German air resistance was minimal." I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Odd Historian. This is a brand new channel, so please comment what you liked and what I could improve, and comment your bit of odd or lesson on history. See you next time.